All right, welcome to Hoops Tracker today. Jerry Howard, your host. We have a special guest. We have Hannah Simental from Colorado State. She just finished her senior year. Welcome to the show, Hannah.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Now, Hannah, you come from a long line of basketball in your family because your brother and sister played,
Yes.
and your dad's a coach, and now your dad coaches at Pueblo West at the high school where you played. But talk a little bit about your experience growing up playing basketball, whether it's club, high school. What
Yeah.
was that like in your household since you're a basketball family?
It's really funny because I actually started off as basketball player, quit and did some dance for 6 years, kind of broke my dad's heart. And then kind of came back to it. It was kind of inevitable for me though, because I was in the gym so much, even with dance.
Uh-huh.
My siblings would be at the YMCA training with my dad, and I would come and I'd be stretching or doing whatever, and I was just around it. Even if I didn't want to be, I was there. So I just kind of made my way back to the game. The competitive spirit is what I kind of missed from doing dance and just being
Uh-huh.
around siblings who they are just the hardest workers I know. Kind of made me that kind of person I am. I definitely would not say it was already in me. I think it was a little bit already in my brother and my sister, that drive and passion. And
Mhm.
then around high school, I would say around my sophomore year, I was like, yeah, I want to do this. And my dad was great support for me. He was in the gym with me, rebounding. Even my mom would get in there sometimes. So honestly, they paved the way for me for my success, and I would not be where I am without them.
Mhm.
So they made the job easy, honestly.
Well, you mentioned dance. That
Yes,
actually, no, I'm serious. That actually is really good training for basketball
it is.
with
It
your
is.
footwork and your balance and your
Yes.
flexibility, which
Yeah.
most young women struggle with sometimes
Yeah.
in that. So, how did dance? Because when I played football, football players were taking ballet classes. And
Yeah.
they were taking it for flexibility, agility, all these other things. How did dance help you translate and get to where you are today?
Yeah, I definitely think like injuries, it definitely helped me throughout my career.
Mhm.
Mobility and strength. I mean, kind of stopped. I did a year of point, so that's with the
Mhm.
wooden point shoes, and that
Yeah.
was definitely where I got most of my strength. And then my flexibility. I mean, I still have it, which is insane because I was going from stretching every day to like I still stretch, but nothing near what we were doing in ballet. Um,
Right.
I could still do the splits, which is crazy. But I think it's definitely helped just manage my body and also has taught me a little bit of what I need to be doing as an athlete because I mean, those dancers, they're athletes as well, and it's a lot. So,
They are. So you started your career out. You went to Northern Colorado and you
yes.
played out there for a couple years. And then for your senior year, you hit the portal. Talk about your experience the first time going through recruiting, and we'll kind
Yeah.
of compare it to the second time, which I'm sure is a lot different. But talk a little bit about that. Um,
Yeah. I would say so. Out of high school, I was playing for an AAU team, Colorado Premier, and that's
mhm,
what they were called at the time. I'm pretty sure they've changed their name, but they were an EYBL team.
mhm,
And I had a pretty good sophomore season,
mhm,
and I had gotten to go to a team camp at UNC, and they ended up offering me then. And I really loved the staff. They came to a home visit, and I just really fell in love with them. And I actually committed very early. I didn't even
mhm.
well, I played my junior summer, but I was
Mhm.
already committed at that time
Wow.
to UNC. And I think it kind of goes with all the decisions I make in my life. Like once I feel like I know, I'm like, let's do it. I'm all in. I'm an all in kind of person and always have been.
Mhm,
And I just kind of felt in my gut that that was the place I wanted to be. At that
mhm,
time, coming out of high school, my priorities were D1 scholarship. Like that's all I cared about, ideally close to home. So
mhm.
when UNC gave me all three of those, I was like, I'm good. Like I'm ready to go. I ended up playing really
Check,
well my
check, check.
yeah, I ended up playing really well my junior summer, and had a lot of other coaches reach out to me, but I was just like, I feel like this is God's plan for me. So I
Mhm,
locked in with that, and that was with the staff with Jenny Huth.
mhm,
And she ended up leaving after the COVID year, which was my freshman year. So played 3 years with the new head coach Matteo. Enjoyed my time there. I wanted to stick it out for 4 years. I just feel like it was rare for people to do that, and I felt like I made a commitment to that school, and I wanted to finish it out with the girls that I was playing with.
Mm-hmm.
And then my 5th year comes around, and I'm like, man, I think I want to experience something new. And initially, I wanted to get out of Colorado. That was kind of my main thing was go out of the state, experience something new. A winning program was a big deal to me, just because I didn't have the success I wanted as a team at UNC. Um, and that was one of my biggest thing. I want to be with good players and I want to win. I want to win a lot of games. So
Yeah.
I entered the portal and I even think now it's a lot different, but oh my gosh, it was very overwhelming. My phone was blowing, my phone would start overheating because I'd be on the phone calls with coaches and I had to get to a point where I was like, all right, the rest of the evening I'm done. Like I'm putting my
Yeah.
phone on do not disturb. I'll talk to these coaches tomorrow. And I think that's like really important when going through the recruiting process is knowing that, the right school will wait and the what's meant to be is meant to be. And you
Mhm.
have to like honestly take it day by day. It's really overwhelming. Coach Ryan was one of my first recruiting calls from CSU, and we
Mhm.
really hit it off. And then I ended up taking a visit there later, really falling in love with the coaching staff with Fort Collins. I hadn't been up here in a really long time, and just the college town was something that I just didn't have in Greeley. Um,
Mhm.
and it was really refreshing. And then the idea of playing in Moby was really exciting for me, just their fan base and having games that are packed every Saturday was like something really new to me as well. And so I ended up calling off a couple visits because I just really fell in love with Colorado State and I
Uh-huh.
signed there and here I am and I don't regret it. Honestly, I followed my heart and everything and I think
Mhm.
it's where I was meant to be.
No, that's really cool. You mentioned some interesting things about recruiting the second time around. The first time around, you had certain criteria,
Yes.
met your criteria, you had time to talk with the coach. What was that like when, well, two things. You were a freshman when COVID hit,
Yes.
right? And so you got that fifth year because of COVID.
Mhm.
But then after that, your coach leaves.
Yes.
And so what was that transition like for you?
Yeah.
Because Coach Jenny is awesome. I mean, I know she went to Oregon State, she's at Cal now,
Yeah.
but she's a great coach. And then when Coach Matteo comes in, what like I know there's different styles, but what were you thinking when the
Yeah.
transition went, what happened with your coach?
So when Coach Jenny left, almost that entire team entered the portal as well. I was one of, I think, 4 people or 3 people that stayed, if I'm remembering correctly.
Mhm.
So I was definitely a little bit worried. I was like, man, if this coach comes in and, doesn't like my style of play and feels like I don't fit, I might not play. And, honestly, my parents helped me a lot with that transition of, okay, what should I do? And I just kind of felt like my COVID year wasn't really a real year. We played half the amount of games you normally play. It was just a weird setup. I had a pretty good year. I mean, I started as a freshman, so I,
Mhm.
I was feeling pretty confident coming back with that team, but it was a little unsettling, but I just kind of trusted the process and I just kind of felt like I made a commitment to that school and
Yeah.
I wanted to stick it out. And so my parents really helped me with that and Mateo, I remember getting on a phone call with her and literally just asking, so do you want me or do you not? Because I kind of like, if you don't want me, I don't want to stay. And she was like, oh, of course we want you. Like, yes,
Yeah.
we want you. You're going to be a big part of our system. And obviously, you still have to prove yourself no matter what coaching staff comes in.
Oh yeah.
And I was able to do that again. And I really had a great career there and I enjoyed all of it. So,
Well, if I remember correctly, you got first team all conference a couple of years, so
yeah,
you were doing something right.
yeah, it's something.
Now, when is the whole transition, and you talked about, changing from Northern Colorado and going up to CSU, what was that like? Because you're an outsider coming in.
Yeah.
And what, I mean, you're used to starting, you're used to being, it's almost like high school, right? Like I'm an all-state player. I should
Yes.
be on the court. And now you're coming in. what was that dynamic like? And talk about that transition because I don't think you were a starter in the
Yeah.
beginning. So
Yeah.
talk about that because a lot of times girls are like, "Yeah, I'm out."
hmm So when I got to CSU, obviously, like I had a vision of starting. I was kind of in that point guard position at the time. I did have a really bad ankle injury over the summer.
Mhm,
So that kind of set me back a little bit, I think, because it was right before we started official practices. And I remember my goal was just try to be healthy by official practices.
mhm,
And of course, just a new system, even though I felt like I could fit in pretty well, it's still new. Like it's still new coaching staff, a whole new team. So there was definitely an adjustment period. I will say, I think coming from UNC to here was a lot smoother than I ever thought it could be. And I do
mhm,
credit the coaching staff for that because they really did help me. Um, and yes, I started like at the beginning of the year and I just wasn't playing my best basketball, to be truthfully honest.
mhm.
Just wasn't hitting shots like I normally do. And I talked with coaches and they were honest with me, which I truly appreciate. They pushed me to be better and I worked for my spot. And by the mid season, I would say, I was starting and I was playing 35 to 40 minutes. So I would just say the transition was easier than I expected because I kind of had this mindset of, okay, it's going to be like I'm a freshman again. Like I'm not going to know anybody, I'm not going to know anything. But
Mhm.
I think I was wrong in that sense because I did have so much experience coming in as a fifth year. Like I just had so much more experience than I thought I did. So that really helped in my journey.
Yeah. Well, and you guys had played CSU when you were over at Northern Colorado, and I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
you torched them. So you knew. I mean, and I mean, they kind of knew you in that new situation because right, you're coming into a team that they've already clicked, they've already bonded. What did you do to try to build those relationships? It's not like, oh, we've known each other for 10 years. What did you try to do to build those relationships with your teammates?
I would say over the summer, so I lived with two teammates, which I'm really glad I did. I initially wanted to live by myself because I had just lived by myself in Greeley.
Mhm,
But I'm really glad I lived with teammates because it just puts you in the circle of everything. And if they're
mhm,
going to do something, you go do something too. And I do think that played a big role. I would say over the summer, one thing I started to notice was, man, I get along with like everybody on this team, like from the freshmen all the way to the fifth years. It was like I can go have a conversation with anybody and not feel like awkward or feel like we're not in the same clique or whatever. So
yeah.
I think that was something unique about this team was I did connect with everyone on some sort of level, even if it was a freshman.
Uh-huh.
And then by conference, I mean, we were pretty close at that point, and we're in the gym every day. It's kind of inevitable almost to like not click with your teammates because
Right.
you're just with them all the time. And I do think that the coaching staff did a great job picking people because we all bring something to the table. And they've even said like this past year was one of their favorite teams just because of the personalities of everyone and just
Mhm.
the joy that we had playing together.
Yeah. Talk about just some of the relationships, like who are some of the players on the team that you look up to?
Yeah. I would say, well, a big reason I did come to CSU was because Emma Ronsick, transfer from Creighton, was coming here to
Mhm,
play with her younger sister, Hannah.
mhm,
And seeing that like right away, I was like, man, like if I come there, we're gonna kind of be like a powerhouse. And then we've got, I mean, five-star like freshman recruits coming in. So I definitely would say Emma was somebody that I clicked with and like kind of we were the fifth years, we were kind of the
mhm.
older people of the team. So I really meshed well with her and man, I wouldn't say look up to because I'm not gonna give her the satisfaction of that. And if she ever sees this, I don't want her to get a big head. But
Yeah.
no, seriously, I would say she's
Mhm,
just an incredible talent and just her ability to play literally the one through five is something I never experienced at
mhm,
UNC and just a player who can really take over a game.
mhm.
It was just fun to play with her, and I'm really blessed to have gotten that experience. And I'm glad her sister went here, so we got her because it made this year really fun. So,
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Now, we have a lot of young women and even young men that are looking, they want to play in college. You've been through the process a couple of times, not only with your brother, but with your sister.
yeah.
what kind of advice would you give to parents and kids? Like, hey, I'm a freshman, I'm a sophomore, I might be a junior, and we're about ready to hit our summer club season, and then
Yeah.
I got to make some choices. What advice would you give to them? Training, whatever it might be.
Yeah. Well, I think just my experience coming from, playing 40 minutes, coming here playing a good amount, not playing, and then playing a lot. I just think trusting the process, and I know that sounds cliche, and trusting the process and everything, but really just going to work every day. I mean, I got
Mhm.
up at our practice would be at 8, so I would be at the gym at 6:30. I had bad knees, so I'd go to treatment, and then I'd be the first one in the gym with two of my other teammates. I mean, there was always somebody else in there. I was never alone on this team, which is what was unique. But I just
Mhm.
trusted the process. I got in the gym every day. Obviously you're gonna have down times where it's like, man, I thought I was gonna be here and I'm not. I thought I was gonna be doing this and I'm not.
Mhm.
And as a parent, I think it's important to support your kid, but also be very truthful. You can be their biggest cheerleader, but also be honest with them. And my parents did a really good job of that. It was like, okay, so what do you need to get better at? What do you need to do? What do you want to do? Do you want to be on the court? Do you want to do everything you can to be on the court, or are you okay with where you're at? And having those honest conversations, I think, is huge because so many parents, I know you just want to tell them they're the best player ever, but sometimes
Right.
that's just not the truth.
Mhm.
And as my dad's daughter, I had to be open to those things too. So it goes both ways. But I just think, trusting the process, working hard, all the things you'd always hear. But then I'd say if you're coming from a freshman to college, just when making those decisions, trusting your heart and going with your gut. That's what I've done every time I've been given the opportunity to change schools, and that's what I did out of high school. And
Mhm.
also when you get to the school, if it's not something that you expected, make the best of it. The grass is greener where you water it, and I truly believe that. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, I think that would be my advice.
No, that's good. Talk a little bit about, I mean, be in high school, right? There's the kids that are gym rats. They're always in the gym. They're always doing something. What did you learn in college about taking care of your body
Oh
and
my gosh.
resting?
Yeah, so I actually had some knee problems starting like my sophomore year. I'd
Mhm.
say my freshman year, it was kind of out of sight, out of mind, didn't really was feeling good, didn't really have any issues.
Mhm.
And then kind of my sophomore summer, we started doing a lot more conditioning, a lot of different surfaces, and my knee started bothering me, and I was in the
Mhm.
training room every day. And I would say from my sophomore year to now, I've been in the training room every day.
Mhm.
Doing exercises, strengthening. And I think it's important to communicate with your trainer and let her know, like, I'm willing to do the work. I want to stay healthy. What do I need to do? He or she.
Mhm.
Mine was a
Right.
female both times.
Mhm.
And I was just really committed to that because I knew if I played what or if I felt good, I was going to play good. And my junior year, I had a stress fracture that I played on all conference and I didn't know.
Ouch.
So I definitely also say speaking up about injuries, and if you're feeling any type of way, just being honest with yourself because I really was playing through pain that year and it was really hard. Um,
Mhm.
and then I took that summer to get healthy again, and I'm blessed to have had two really healthy years. And I do think a lot of it was just communicating with my trainer, but also be willing to go to the training room every single, I mean, like every single day. I was in the
Yeah, no. I
day.
mean, I mean, even before practice, after practice, I'm sure you're icing. I'm sure you're, doing all the things you need to do. How important was the weight room in your development?
Oh my gosh, huge. I mean, I came into college weighing like 115 pounds, which is like a feather at my
Yeah.
height. And I was very small, but I had lifted all through high school.
Mhm.
But I just think once I got to college, it's just so different. And then my metabolism changed, obviously.
Mhm.
But the weight room was so huge just because my position was point guard, two guard. And especially moving up from UNC to CSU, the conference just the players increased, the talent increased, the strength increased. And it was really critical for my health, for my health.
Mhm.
A big reason I had so many knee problems was because I lacked quad strength. So
Mhm.
really taking the weight room seriously and then
Mhm.
also putting in extra work if I could. And even now I'm still lifting. I'm taking a month off of basketball, but it's just so important to stay strong so that I can stay healthy for the next chapter of my career. So
we had your strength coach on earlier in the year because I think it's really important for young men and women to understand like how important that weight room is. And
Yeah.
a lot of times the guys know about that, but a lot of times
Mhm.
the girls shy away from the weight
Yeah.
room when they really need to be in there. And and if the guys, you got to kick the guys out, kick them out. But you got to go in. But let me ask you, I'm going to ask you something really just could you do a push up? Could you do a push up going into college?
I'm pretty sure I could. I couldn't do a pull-up though. I will say that.
Okay. That was my next question.
I could do push-ups because I mean I lived like with my
Yeah.
brother for a good amount of time and my dad, and they were making me do push-ups all the time.
Uh-huh.
But I could not do a pull-up coming into college. That was like really hard for me. So
I bet you've conquered that one, huh?
I have conquered that. I can get up there now.
How many? How many can you do?
I can do chin-ups. I can do about 4 or 5. Actual
Nice.
pull-ups, I would say like 2. Those are hard. The
That's
wide
all
grip
right.
is hard. The wide grip.
No, I think that's cool because it's interesting is we've interviewed different players, different schools, even at Stanford, right? Those girls come in, they can't do a pull-up.
Yeah, it's hard.
And and it is hard. And but if you don't work, it's like at anything, right? If you don't
Yeah,
work at it, you're not going to get better at it. And,
exactly.
and so cool. Hannah, this is awesome. Now, I know we want to bring you on. I'd love to bring you and your dad on later because right now you're going through the process of selecting an agent. You're going through the process of going to go play overseas. And I know your brother's already playing overseas and has for the last couple of years. We would love to hear about your experience because I think it's important more so people know what it's like because there are a ton of young women and men that are playing overseas from Colorado, and a lot of people don't understand that there's actually a lot more out there playing professionally than not. So,
Yeah. Yes. I
so
would love to come back on and talk about that for sure. I'm grateful that my brother has gone through it, so he's helped me a lot, and I have a coaching staff that's really been all in with me on that. But it's
mhm,
definitely a whole new terrain. I mean, it is not college basketball. I've done my due diligence of reaching out to girls who have been playing, and
mhm,
like every single one has had a different experience. So
yes.
it's definitely something that we would have to schedule some more time to talk about.
Well, yeah, no, absolutely. I think just that whole process and it's changed. Like I've talked to people who played overseas 10 years ago, 15 years ago. I mean, that whole overseas thing is completely changed.
Yeah.
And I think it's better. And I think with the rise of women's basketball, and I think, going to Australia, going to Europe, there's even players playing in Africa. I mean, it's kind of cool to see how many people are playing in different countries from Colorado. And so, yeah, that would be great. Hannah, we are so thankful, grateful to watch you. And your COVID. I was so bummed because with I think it was your COVID year is when we were going to do the show, and then COVID shut it all down. So you're the only Simental that hasn't played in the show. We'll work
Yeah.
that one out. We'll get you to coach. We'll get you to coach.
That'd be cool for
That
sure.
would be a lot of fun. But anyway, Hannah, it's great having you on the show. Best of luck and congratulations on graduating and wish you well in your professional career.
Thank you so much.